Hi everybody, and this is day 2. So today Nick's been talking about our past. So the creative clue is where have I been, and choice. So yesterday was experimentation, where would I like to go, and today is choice, where have I been. So the idea today was to talk about and to think about, reflect on times in our life where we've been inspired, or we've been just really given that real juice of creativity and we run with it. And Nick started talking about his childhood, and I thought, well, one of my earliest memories to do with art and painting was at kindergarten. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that story where I had the easel in front of me, and the teacher, who apparently didn't like me, Mum actually confirmed that she actually didn't like me for whatever reason, and I went to look at this beautiful big bit of paper on the easel with all those colours, and I just wanted to throw those colours around and just play. And she stood behind me with her arms crossed over, and I jammed up. The process for me when I jammed up was to try and feel like I could impress her. I thought I had to do something with form and line work and structure, as far as my little 4 or 5 year old brain could imagine. So her attitude behind me and my awareness of her behind me with that attitude meant that I said, I don't know what to draw. Now what she said to me in that moment was, just do a train. Okay, so, 4-year-old brain went, huh? What does a train look like? Or how do I draw? Or it was just so insurmountable in that moment. I could not get any idea how I would draw a train. So what I did was I thought, well, you know what? Actually, Nick's got a point. Let's unpack that. What if I imagine that I go back to being that 4 or 5 year old, and what would I draw? What if there wasn't that pressure and I was thinking about trains, but I was just thinking about colour? I thought, what would come out? And I haven't unpacked this before, as in actually trying to create a work from that idea. So that's what I thought. I thought I would get out a couple of pictures of the trains that were around that year. So round about would have been maybe 65, 66, 1965 or 66. So these were called the old red rattlers. So there's my little inspiration, because I wanted to have a look at what they look like. And you know what? It was really funny going through this old photos and just seeing the old seats and the way I travelled as a youngster and through into my teen years. That was pretty funny. Well, I also with my current day work, even though I'm thinking and mentally jumping back to that day and that time, I'm also aware that there are things that I do today with my work that I'm going to incorporate. 4 or 5 year old me wouldn't have probably had some tea-dyed paper and thought about sticking that down, or wouldn't have pre-made tea-dyed paper. So it's really, it's like it's going back into the past, but it's also a little bit of a conglomeration, if you like. And that's what it's about today. It's about choice. That's nice and crunchy. I think nice and crunchy should go on the page. So I hope everyone's well. And also, thank you so much to the new subscribers and the people probably from Nick's group that came along and had a little bit of a watch of the video. That's lovely. Thank you so much. Don't forget though, it helps us artists who maybe don't sell a lot of our work and who do this almost full time, like me. Liking and subscribing helps build up the channel and helps us to, even though I've said it many times in previous videos, that I do this because I love it. I'm passionate about it and I love it. Okay, the phone rang. Had to just stop for a second and sort that out. So where was I? Yes, thanks to new subscribers. Okay, so there's an element here of collage, which I absolutely love. It's something that I've done a lot in the past, and maybe 4 or 5-year-old me may not have really thought too much about collage or patterning, and maybe not even necessarily related it to any sort of form or structure. So today I did change my table up a bit. I've got some this thicker charcoal. I've got some of my Matisse structure paints. Look at that colour for a train. That's just going right there. I've got my crayons, my oil pastels, and I've got water soluble ones, and this time I've actually got paintbrushes. And this is really thick watercolour paper. I didn't know really what I was going to be doing, so I still don't know what I'm going to be doing, and that's pretty much okay. The old red rattler. That was, as a child, now that's the epitome of what I thought as a 4-year-old. There's a red train. Love it. But it would have been far more creative and outside of the page. I wouldn't have had a judgment that I've got to keep it in some sort of form and semblance of anything to impress anyone. When you're young, you're just right in that moment of your own creative expression. You're not thinking at all about where it's going. So as my mind started to think about those years back as that child, at that age, I started to think of all the other things that were kind of happening around that time. So we had just emigrated to Australia within that year. So part of my vulnerability may have also come from not really... I'm in a new country. I've left relatives, I've left grandmas, aunties, uncles, cousins behind. I've come over with, my brother and my mum and dad, and even though we had come to white Australia, which from what I've spoken to lots of people that I went to school with who were from different cultures, so what I'm saying is that it meant that there was an element of safety or an element of sameness to come here, because there were other people who were in the same sort of situation. And I'm just saying, as opposed to when I went to high school, there were a lot of Greek and Italian immigrants, and the kids often had a lot of trouble integrating because they weren't feeling accepted and it was so different to their normal culture. And some even didn't actually speak English really well, and so that was very alienating in the school situation. So earliest memories for me were that we had, what else did we have? We ended up in Coburg, so that's where we kind of landed. And then we had a house built in, where did we go? Moorabak. So we moved out further from the city. In fact, we loved Coburg, but I don't know why. Mum and Dad came from small places in England, so I guess they didn't think too much about moving further and further out. So it led me to think a little bit about, Nick was talking about he had a pet crow, and so that led me to think, at that age, one of the delights was my dog, and a Kelpie she was. Just loved her, and she used to follow us to school. Now, Red Rattler. Let's see if we can have some sort of inspiration. Look at that gorgeous blue sky. Beautiful soft pastels. However, for me, it's still not necessarily the exact colour, but putting it down there is a reminder. We also had lots of cats growing up. And so what's interesting about the way you grow up, we had lots of cats, we had a dog, we got to experience life and birth and all of that sort of stuff. And when we moved out up to Mooralbark, we were fairly well. Yesterday I talked a little bit about being surrounded by trees and having, you know, nature. I know Nick talked about this, but actually that was pretty similar for me, that we had the nature and the trees and birds and stuff around. There was about 3 doors up, there was a sort of a farmy kind of a house that had a couple of acres anyway, and they had a few horses, so we'd just a couple of doors up, we'd be able to go and pat the horses, have a chat to them, as you do. So for me, the whole concept that we're looking at yesterday about space, today looking at memories that can inform our work, and the memories of the animals, the memories of the trees. It was a very idyllic kind of a lifestyle, quite peaceful. By the way, these are like first creations. They're 3-year-olds, water-based, non-toxic markers. They're great because they're water-based, so you can get them down and dissolved if you wish. You might not. You might want to just leave them as they are. In Australia, these are from Officeworks. So where I was getting to with the whole talking about the land and everything is really a lot about the openness to have your own creative expression, your own thought. Now I've still got a bit of this left over from yesterday, and I've decided that I wanted to carry it through my projects. So the natural flow of things, having your animals, your park lands, your gardens, your creative expression, in whichever way your creative expression serves you, however that works. All those things, for me, are very they're very juxtaposed to that lady when I was at kindergarten, having that, what I might term a bullying attitude, or maybe a crappy attitude, if you like. What judgment? But, you know, it's interesting because when you look back, you go, well, that poor lady, how unhappy was she? She didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there as a kindergarten teacher. She didn't want anyone to have any beautiful creative expression. She just was grumpy lady. So you have to feel a bit sorry for her in that case, don't you, really? That's what sort of life is that? Grumpy. Right, here we go. Totally waffling on, as you know, anyone who's followed for a while will know that on the odd occasion I just have a waffle on. You can always turn the sound down, you can always put it on fast forward, or fast forward? No, speed up. Yep, that happens. I do that sometimes myself. Okay. Anyway, there's a point in your waffling where you realise, well, I should just not talk if I'm saying nothing. But you know what? There you are. That's my video. Get back on track, Christina. So isn't it good to get to the age of 59 and be going, you know what? Nothing stopped me with my creative expression, not even that lady. How unhappy was she? So it's a joy. It's all about joyfulness. It's about creativity. It's about playing. It's about having fun. It's not even about looking at whether you're making a mistake or not. It's the journey of the exploration. All right. I'm using this little stamp because it just arrived in the mail and it's just got a little patchy alphabet on it. So I'm using it because it just arrived, and so that's fun for me to give that a go. Just adding bits and pieces here and there. Just adds a bit of extra texture. Now for the most part, I like this. I feel there's, I want to put on some more text or type. Oh, I just saw, I've got some leaves. They're a bit, I put these leaves in between tea stained paper, so they've actually come out, they're still actually quite damp. So it might not be good. That one might be okay. That's a bit, maybe it's a bit drier. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see. See if we can get a print off it. So this is a water-based ink, in case anyone doesn't know, a water-based ink pad, Distress Oxide. Not quite sure if the impression's going to come off, but we'll see. A little bit. So the journey of the, yesterday we talked a little bit about soulfulness in our work, bringing yourself to your work. And for me, when I'm putting this on, it's almost like, even though the train was the red rattler, that kind of almost represents that narky, snarky energy attitude that that lady had. And for me, imprinting the leaves over the top really reminds me that, so today was about choice, wasn't it? Where have I been? So it really reminds me that even though she was like that and I could have chosen to follow her lead, take that on as the example for life, I didn't choose that and I chose a more natural way. So imprinting the leaves over the top is a reminder to me of that. Oh, that's nice. All right, this is beautiful, this bit here. This one, you can just see the lines. As it gets flattened down, it might not work as much. So try and put it in an area that's easier to see. Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I love it. It just develops and grows. Here we go. And it just transforms as you go. You don't know what it's going to be. Of course, it's just about the journey, that's it. For anyone who is new to the channel, these are little tiny squeeze bottles which are a lot easier to get glue out of than some of the, like the Fabric Fix, which is really hard. So for anyone who's older and has trouble with their hands, this is a better deal. Probably was a bit too much of the Mod Podge. Okay, so I am now really looking at overlaying over the top of that red rattler train. There we go. That original idea of what that lady was thinking, I'm just overlaying it with nature, basically, covering that over. So I really actually, I love this bit through here. And you know, with these, anyone who's new that's watching, I love to do these, and then I will go and scan them in and edit them and make new pieces from even little just snippets of these. All right, I did find a word before that I wanted to put on. Here it is. There it is, musical. Okay, so the reason that that's pertinent to me is because then I did go on and study music, and that was my creativity for a very long time until I came back to art again. Always backwards and forwards with art. On again, off again. Like that. And there you are. I discovered something. When you put down those artist soft pastels and then use the water kids thing over the top, look at that. That's a discovery. Isn't that great? Love it. There we go. And I love these little stamps, and I often put this little life word there. It's a reminder. Live life. There we go. I have no idea what time frame we're in at the moment. I have no idea how long I took, but I am going to consider that at the moment adding any more is making it's already quite full and cluttered, and I might come in you know, I love watching Nick will just go, oh well, I'm covering that over, and I haven't quite got to that point yet. I must do some experimentation with that after, especially now that the weather's getting warmer and I can get out to the wet studio and do some larger work. But for now, choice. I will always choose the leaves and life and music and art and creativity over the original pokey finger, judgment, grumpy, overbearing voice that that lady had. Anyway, I hope you got something from that today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.